Carlos Alcaraz had everything under control, or so it seemed. With a comfortable 4-2 lead in the third set, the story looked like it was already written. Fans were probably checking their brackets, assuming his spot in the semifinals was a done deal. But if there's one thing tennis keeps proving over and over again, it's that nothing is certain until the last point is played. Enter Yuri Leeka, a guy with nerves of steel and zero interest in sticking to the script. Instead of crumbling under pressure, he doubled down, got even stronger, and pulled off an absolutely insane comeback. 4 straight games, pure dominance, and before anyone knew it, he had sealed the biggest win of his career. Not only did he punch his ticket to the Final Four of the tournament, but he also sent a message to the tennis world: underestimate me at your own risk. After the match, Leeka sat down with Tennis TV and spilled the tea on what really made the difference. And no, it wasn't some mind-blowing backhand or a genius tactical switch. It all came down to one thing: his mentality. For those expecting some technical breakdown, tough luck, Leeka was all about the mental game. For me, the most important thing in a match like this is believing in my game no matter what, he said. Not backing down, not getting passive. In the first set, I was kind of lost, but I never stopped trusting my style, being aggressive, sticking to what I do best. At some point, I had to push him to the limit, so I knew patience was key. I had to wait for the right moment to really bring out my strengths and take control. And boy, did he do just that. While talent is obviously a huge part of the equation, what separates the best from the rest is being able to stay cool when the heat is on. Leeka's mental toughness was on full display, and he admitted that breaking back in the first set was the turning point. Once he got that confidence boost, his mindset shifted completely. He never once doubted that he could win. With this victory, Leeka keeps his Doha run alive and now stands on the doorstep of the final. But things won't get any easier from here. After knocking out Alcaraz, he was asked about his next opponent, who would come from the match between Matteo Berrettini and Jack Draper. Instead of getting caught up in the speculation, he kept it simple. When you're playing a tournament at this level, you know the draw is stacked. Every match is against a high-quality opponent, but each one presents a different challenge. Right now, my only focus is on recovering as well as possible and building towards my next match, he said. That answer speaks volumes about where his head is at. He's locked in on his own game instead of worrying about who's on the other side of the net. It's the kind of mindset that separates the contenders from the pretenders. For Leeka, this win isn't just another step forward in this tournament. It's a defining moment in his young career. At just 21 years old, the Czech player has proven he can hang with the best and shake up the tennis hierarchy. More importantly, this win has given him the confidence to believe he belongs among the elite, and that this is only the beginning. The match had a lot of ups and downs, but to beat a player of this level means so much, he admitted. I always believed in myself. I knew I had this level in me, that I could produce this kind of tennis in big matches. The only thing I needed was to be more consistent throughout. Now, my goal is to make results like this a regular thing, not just a one-off. That statement says it all. It's not just about this one win, it's about proving that he's here to stay. And if this performance is any indication, the tennis world better start paying attention. A massive win can be a game-changer, but turning that one victory into a steady climb to the top? That's a whole different beast. Success in tennis isn't just about having flashy shots or pulling off an upset here and there. It's about showing up, day in and day out, with the same level of intensity, mental toughness, and the balls to handle pressure when everything is on the line. Leeka's performance against Alcaraz was a perfect example of that grit. Even when he was staring down the barrel of a loss in the third set, he didn't back off, didn't fold like a cheap chair. Instead, he dug in, found another gear, and cranked up his level exactly when it mattered most. That's the kind of attitude that separates the "damn, this kid's got talent" players from the real fucking champions. If he can keep this momentum going and prove that he belongs at this level consistently, there's no doubt, this guy is coming for the big titles. And fast. The way he played, the way he fought, the way he refused to let Alcaraz run away with it? That wasn't a fluke. That was a damn statement. If Lehecka can keep his foot on the gas and turn this into a habit rather than a one-off, we might just be witnessing the rise of a brand new star on the tour. For Alcaraz, though, this was a bit of a shocker. The dude rolled into Doha as the undeniable favorite, expected to bulldoze his way into the final rounds like he always does. But tennis has a way of throwing curveballs at you, and this time it was named Yuri fucking Leeka. The guy showed up, played out of his mind, and made the most of every single opportunity that came his way. After the match, Alcaraz sat down with the media and, surprisingly, didn't seem too shaken. He wasn't looking for excuses, wasn't blaming some meltdown, and definitely wasn't pointing fingers at anyone but himself. I talked to my team, with my coach, and honestly, I have no idea what I could have done better, he admitted. Maybe a couple of serves, a few points here and there where I could have played smarter. But honestly, I just don't know. And that right there tells you everything. In past losses, Alcaraz has often pointed to mental lapses or moments where he lost focus as the reason things slipped away. But this time? This wasn't about his mind checking out. This was about Lehecka seizing his moment and refusing to let go. It was a tough one. I have to give him credit. He never gave up, not even when he was behind, Alcaraz added. It all came down to just one point. That's what makes tennis so brutal. One damn point can change everything. He's not wrong. When matches are this tight, the difference between walking off the court with a win or heading to the locker room with an L is razor thin. And today, that tiny edge belonged to Lehecka. Sure, there were no mental breakdowns this time, but that doesn't mean there's no room for improvement. If there's been one knock on Alcaraz in some of his high-stakes losses, it's his tendency to let things slip mentally in big moments. This wasn't one of those times, but you can bet your ass he'll be dissecting every point, every decision, and every missed opportunity to make sure this kind of loss doesn't become a pattern. Because let's be real, Alcaraz isn't the kind of guy who takes losses lightly. And if history tells us anything, it's that when he gets knocked down, he doesn't just get back up, he comes back swinging. Unlike previous losses, the Spaniard made it crystal clear, this time, mental lapses weren't to blame. No excuses, no beating himself up over unnecessary mistakes. Today, I don't blame anything on mental errors, he admitted. I think I was in a great mental state. The truth is, at certain moments in the match, he just raised his level, and I wasn't able to match him. A brutally honest assessment and, more importantly, a sign of growth. For Alcaraz, this marks a shift in mentality, something he's fully aware of. Both in Rotterdam and now in Doha, he's taken steps forward in handling high-pressure situations. And despite today's loss, he's walking away with plenty of positives. I've grown a lot, not just as a player, but as a person. Even with today's result, I leave with my head held high, knowing that I did things the right way. This is the path I need to keep following. That kind of mindset? It's exactly what separates the elite from the rest. It's confidence without arrogance, resilience without denial, clear proof that his belief in his long-term process remains unshaken. Eliminated or not, Alcaraz made sure to highlight how much he enjoyed his first-ever experience in Doha, and one thing's for sure, he'll be back. I love this tournament. I think it's incredible. Everything here is so well organized, super convenient for players, and the staff makes the whole experience special. The courts are in perfect condition, and honestly, everything is just easy and enjoyable. I'll definitely be back next year. A loss stings, sure. But there's a difference between disappointment and defeatism. And Alcaraz? He's got his eyes locked on the road ahead. Meanwhile, Alexander Zverev is on a mission, and he's not afraid to say it out loud. He wants to be the best in the world. With CER temporarily out due to suspension, the opportunity is there, and Zverev knows it. But he's also realistic. Speaking to the press in Rio de Janeiro, he made it clear that while he's hungry for Grand Slam titles and the world #1 ranking, he still has some ground to cover. "Everybody knows how badly I want to win a Grand Slam and be the best in the world," he said. "But to get there, I'll have to fight tooth and nail against guys like Alcaraz and Zverev. Because, let's be real, there are still things they do better than me." For now, though, his focus is locked on the 2025 ATP 500 Rio Open, and it hasn't exactly been a walk in the park. The brutal humidity, the slower-than-usual clay courts, and the grueling conditions have tested every player, Zverev included. "I think my level is getting better little by little. Historically, I've always needed a few matches to really find my rhythm on clay, so I'm happy with how I'm progressing," he explained. "What worries me a little is how my elbow is going to handle these conditions. The humidity makes the ball heavy, harder to move, and that's not exactly great for what I've been dealing with physically." His lingering elbow issues have forced him to tweak his schedule in the past, and Rio's conditions aren't doing him any favors. When the courts are this slow, every shot takes extra effort, and that could turn into a major hurdle for him as the tournament progresses. Still, Zverev isn't the type to throw in the towel just because things aren't ideal. He knows that adapting is part of what it takes to compete at the highest level, and he's ready for the challenge. Up next, a crucial quarterfinal clash against Francisco Cagna, a match that will be a real test of where his game stands. A win here wouldn't just be another step forward, it would be a statement. It would prove that despite the tough conditions and the physical strain, he's still one of the biggest threats in the tournament. More than anything, it would put him in prime position to make a real run for the title. And make no mistake, Zverev didn't come to Rio to settle for anything less.